You know, when my oldest son Gabriel was first born, he had a lot of trouble and had to be in the neonatal ICU for several days, which was pretty terrifying to Mama Rollo and me, as you might imagine. I remember standing beside his little incubator with the heat coming down from above and a feeding tube going down his nose, a blood pressure cuff about the size of my thumb around his ankle, and all sorts of other wires and tubes coming out of him. And I remember praying something like, God, did you give us this boy just so you could take him home to be with you within the first few days? And at the same time, I knew that that was a real possibility. I was afraid and I was completely helpless. There was nothing I could do about it but pray and wait. But you see, the passage that we're about to read kept coming back to my mind from Exodus 14 while I was standing there, watching Gabriel breathe in and out, holding his tiny hand, praying for him. Because you see, remember, the Israelites are in a tight spot here. They are between the desert on one side and the Red Sea on the other. And they have learned, and we learned yesterday that God actually put them in that spot so that he could show them and the Egyptians his glory, his strength once again. Because you see, when Pharaoh learns where they are, he immediately regrets his decision of letting them go, and he calls up his army to go after them and get them back. It's as if he's completely forgotten that God had just devastated his country, his entire country with plagues, and thinks that somehow now he will be able to defeat this God out in the wilderness when he couldn't even defeat him at his own home. It's not too bright of a decision on Pharaoh's part. But at the same time, remember this, that human hearts have pride without limits. I mean, how many times have you or I repented of the same sin over and over and over again, and yet when we know we need to get help with it, we think, no, it's okay. This time it'll be different. I can defeat it on my own. Even though the 1,000 failures that happened before this seem to testify otherwise. But anyways, let's get back to what happened and read what happens next, starting in verse 10. When Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they feared greatly. And the people of Israel cried out to God, and they said to Moses, "Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us in bringing us out of Egypt? Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." And Moses said to the people, "Fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, what he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you will see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You only have to be silent." Apparently, the people had forgotten all that God had done for them as well. I mean, didn't they just see God devastate Egypt with 10 plagues? I mean, yes, they did. But again, let's not judge them too quickly, as if we would be somehow better in their position. We're not any holier than they are. We have seen God act so many times in history and in our own lives, but yet we are quick to doubt him when trouble hits us as well. I mean, when his life was on the line in the NICU, I remember wavering back and forth between trusting God because of his past works in my life and sounding a lot like the Hebrews sounded in my prayers here. Yet what does Moses tell them? He tells them a very important thing which kept coming back to my mind over and over again while I looked at Gabriel and was praying for his life. The Lord your God will fight for you. You need only to be silent. You see, youth, ultimately it is God who is the only one who can do anything about our problems. He is the only one who can fight for us. He is the only one who could keep Gabriel alive. Ultimately, yes, there is a balance here. We seek medical aid. We study for the test. We try to figure out better ways to defend the gospel and Christianity. We make the social and political decisions that we think are wise. But ultimately, it's all in God's hands. He is the only one who can truly fight for us. The Hebrews had done what they could. They followed God's leading all the way to the edge of the Red Sea, exactly as they should have. They have done what he wanted them to do, and then they had to trust him. To trust him and let him fight for them. When Gabriel was in danger, we didn't say, "Oh no, we don't need an ICU. We'll just pray." And we didn't say that. We let the doctors treat him. Yet God still had to fight the battle for his life. I could only be silent. And the same goes for everything else we do. Yes, we make wise choices, but we also remember it is God who fights for us, and we will always be okay. We don't always know what okay will look like. I mean, okay may mean that a child dies, and God helps us to heal from that. But we will always be okay. As Moses said, "See the salvation of the Lord." We can do that, and we will know we will be okay. He will fight for us. I mean, think about it this way. Can his mercy and his love ever be unkind to his children? No. Can his perfect wisdom ever get something wrong? No. Can his power ever be overthrown or stopped? No. Then what's the obvious conclusion? That I will be okay because I am his child. Now again, I don't always know what okay will look like. You can't always know what okay will look like. But we will be okay because God fights for us. So you guys think about that. I'll see you tomorrow.